Chin Chin.
Cheers.
Hello, welcome to the Mermaid Tavern.
Hello.
Chin Chin, Slonchava, Skål,
Skål.
Bottoms up. And this is my friend Mark. You may, if I don't expect you have, but if you watched some very early stuff we did on the Mermaid Tavern, very first couple of videos we did were not sort of Beatles and music related. They were sort of about Christmas Carol.
Christmas Carol.
And Wimpole Street.
Wimpole Street,
which did have some Beatles stuff in it, didn't it? We went to
Wimpole Street,
where Paul lived with the Asher family.
Yeah, Jane. Yeah.
So check that out if you haven't already done it. But I've referred to Mark sometimes in my little times here at the Mermaid Tavern, and he's come to stay with me from London, so I thought, have him in the Mermaid Tavern. Yay! So, Mark, I'm going to ask you, we're talking about the Beatles, really, aren't we?
Yes.
Most on this. What was your first Beatles? Do you remember your first introduction to the Beatles? Can you remember when you first were aware of them?
Well, I can remember actually. I mean, I'm older than I look. I can remember
He's older than me, only a little bit.
I can remember these swinging sixes. I can remember, almost in my pram hearing.
Not in the pram.
Yeah, well.
That's a bit of it. Come on. In the pram.
She loves you. I want to hold your hand. I remember.
Really?
I think it wasn't when it came out. It was '63. They played songs on the radio years afterwards, particularly Beatles songs, and certainly '66. I was hearing them.
When you were like what? Come on, let's give it
4.
4. Yeah. When I was only 2. So you seriously, where were the Beatles when you were 4?
Well, I in retrospect, I remember hearing them. So
right.
Yeah.
But when did you buy a Beatles record? You told me you bought an 8-track cartridge.
Yeah, in 1977. I bought.
That's quite a long time later.
8 tracks. Those are the things you put in cars, and they kept running, rolling, and turning, and turning. And that was Sergeant Pepper.
Right.
1977. Yeah.
So you were
15.
15.
Yeah.
That's quite a long time later. So you didn't actually buy a Beatles record, even though you.
Well, I was
were
too young, wasn't it, to buy a Beatles record?
But I bought my first records when I was like 8.
Yeah, but the Beatles, when I was 8, the Beatles was finished.
Do you remember what was your first record? Oh, come on. We've got to get the first record.
Well, I can tell you my first record here. This is Lee Marvin singing Wandering Star from, Paint Your Wagon, 1970, 71.
There's a story behind that, but we won't go into that now. Yeah. But I've recently just gifted Mark this because he didn't have it for a long time, did you? There's a Lee Marvin, Wandering Star. I remember seeing the Beatles on Top of the Pops, and that was did Paint Your Wagon come out in 1970?
I think it was roughly the same era that Let It Be and Get Back was on Top of the Pops when Wandering Star came out.
Yeah, because I remember, I've got this memory of 1970 seeing Let It Be, It Be, Paul McCartney sing Let It Be at the piano as a video on Top of the Pops. I remember that. Right. Yeah. So, but we've been visiting somewhere today, haven't we? Associated with it. We went to today. Mark came to visit me from London. Not far from here is Clouds Hill, where Lawrence of Arabia. Obviously, everyone will know that Lawrence of Arabia was on one of the characters on the Sgt. Pepper, the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band album. But will they know what we were told today? And do we believe what we were told today? Well, Mark, over to you.
We were told today that Jane Asher, who's of course Paul McCartney's girlfriend in the 60s, her grandfather was the solicitor to T. Lawrence, and that's why Paul suggested it for the album cover as one of the characters.
Oh, they suggested they had an edition that was a signed copy of Seven Pillars of Wisdom, which is the book. That's why it was on the album cover, because Jane liked Lawrence of Arabia, but the movie had come out with Peter O'Toole a few years earlier.
5 years,
so everyone knew who, and they had various odd people on the Sgt. Pepper's album. Did you believe that story today?
No, I
didn't really.
I think they were just people that had influenced them, and he was one of them.
I didn't believe it. Now, a few weeks ago, you told me about this radio set, which I haven't watched yet, that was on radio talking about Mike McCartnney, was it, from his angle, about his mum and what had happened? Do you remember that there was a bit on the radio?
It was the woman from the Bangles was talking about it. I forget
the Bangles?
I forget her name. She was
talking
about
the Bangles, didn't you?
Yeah.
What was she called? The very pretty one of the Bangles?
I think it was her.
Oh, God, what was her name? You know. What was the name of the Bangles?
She was narrating it, and
this was about Paul.
Paul, and she was talking to Mike and various other.
It was on Radio 4, was it recently?
Yeah, Radio 4.
Is it still on the iPlayer now?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Remember what it was called?
I can't remember now.
Yeah, I'll put a link to it when I find what it is, just in case you haven't heard it.
He was saying Mike McCartney, because he was talking about, the Beatles and all the sort of distractions that could have happened to stop the Beatles happening. And one of them was Mike said that if Paul and Mike's mum had lived, because she died of cancer when Paul was 14, in 1956,
Right.
that she would have stopped them learning guitars and getting into rock and roll.
Would she though?
That's what he suggested.
Because Mimi wasn't keen on John with the guitar, was he? But he didn't. That didn't stop him, did it? Might have made Paul even more determined he was going to do it.
Possibly.
But that's what he suggests in this radio program.
Yeah, but there's all sorts of variables as to how.
What does Mike think about it all? What was his slant on it all?
He was saying this. He was proffering this.
Oh,
he
sorry.
Was saying that if his mum had lived, they wouldn't have been allowed to.
Wasn't she called Susanna Hoffs? It's from the Bangles. Susanna Hoffs. I remember her. She was really gorgeous.
Yeah.
Pretty one, wasn't she? So, was it her, the lead singer?
So. I think it was her, yeah.
Why was she doing it?
I don't know. She's a big fan of the Beatles.
All right. Yeah. They were very sort of a poppy band, weren't they, the Bangles, back in the day? Susanna Hoffs, yeah. So Mike agreed with that, did he?
Well, he proffered it. She wasn't positing that. He said this would have happened.
And we were talking because I was at the Beatles convention a few weeks ago. If you saw my earlier video with my mate Alan, I was talking about this, that they had Thelma Pickles, which was John Lennon's art school girlfriend. And she was saying at the time that that John was kind of terrified about the threat of national service. National service, is that the right? Yeah, national service, yeah. He was going to be called up, but we found out that it ended in the last person called up was like 1960.
Yeah, 1960. So
would he? And then they said because he was born 1940, he wouldn't have been eligible for that. Would he?
I think it sort of wound down a bit, and I think there were people certainly being recruited when, say, John was 18 in 1958. There were certainly people being recruited, but it was selective.
Right.
And certainly, John and Paul were anticipating being called up when they were young teenagers.
Right. So Paul as well.
Yeah. He was anticipating that.
Oh, because Thelma Pickles seemed to suggest that it was John that was kind of a little bit, well, that's not the right word, paranoid, but he was aware of it and he thought he might be called up at any time. I wasn't aware of that before, were you?
Yes, it was, yeah.
Of that ilk. Possibly Ringo as well.
Yeah, and possibly George, Well,
wouldn't he would have been out the catchment. I think Paul was as well, wasn't it? Because it sort of finished about, they said the catchment ended about people born before 1939. Was it?
Well, I think Bill Wyman, who was born in 1939, was actually called, he did national service for the RAF. Yeah. A Rolling Stone did national service.
Bill Wyman.
There's a thought.
What was that great quote that you told me once? What was that great quote that he said he left the Rolling Stones to form? Who said it? Was it?
Oh, it was Keith Richards said, a 1 in billion chance of being a rock star, and he gave it up to run a fish and chip shop.
Which was Sticky Fingers, wasn't it? Yeah. We went there, didn't we?
Yeah.
Was it in South Kent? South Kensington. Yeah. Not there anymore. No. But bless Bill Wyman, yeah.
But the detractions, all the different detractions that could have stopped the Beatles getting back together.
Yeah.
If the national service, if they'd all been called up for national service, which is possible, that would have killed it off for a start.
Right.
And there's stuff like, I don't know, well Marilyn McCartney, Paul's Mike's mum, she'd put the mockers on Paul, learning.
I think, of course, it was John and Paul bonding because they both lost their mums, hadn't they?
That's right, yeah.
Would they have never met, do you think? Would they not bonded? They might have met. Yeah. Would they have bonded so? Hard to say, yeah. It's all these kind of things. But what ifs are interesting, aren't they?
Like, Freddie Lennon, John's dad, wanted to take him to New Zealand when he was about 4. Well, it must have been a bit older, after the war. About 6. He went out to New Zealand.
They've kind of rubbished that story in recent times, haven't they? The story about no, not that, but the story that John had to choose between the two of them.
Right.
They say that's not necessarily true. They've dramatised it, haven't they?
Yeah.
I think they did. Nowhere Boy was a good movie, wasn't it? And they do that in that, don't they? They have to choose between mum and dad. But I've heard that suggested that wasn't necessarily true. That he wasn't put under that pressure to choose between his parents.
Well, certainly he was considering Freddie Lennon going to New Zealand with John, which would again put the mockers on it.
Mark's actually read Tune In and the long version of it. Have you read the long version of it? I've told you this before. If you've been listening to this, if you're interested, and I haven't read any version of tuning. I'm awful Beatles fan, but you read the full thing, haven't you?
Yeah.
And I can't remember what he said in there. Who knew?
Regarding
that incident?
I think it was talked about. Yeah, certainly.
Right. Yeah. And when's tuning going to come out? Oh, bless poor old Mark Lewis. Yeah. He was there doing the comparing at the recent Beatles convention, and which you came to, didn't you, with me for the first time a few years ago? The first time you'd ever been to a Beatles convention, went in the Beatles houses, didn't you? But people were sort of saying, "Oh, when's Mark Lewis going to finish off? It's over 10 years since tuning came out." Poor old Mark Lewis. He must be feeling, "Leave me alone. I'm just doing the best I can. Leave me alone. Leave me alone." Anyway, we both had a few drinks tonight.
Yeah.
Now I've heard it suggested on previous videos that I might have enjoyed, felt like I was drinking a lot on these, but it's absolute rubbish.
I can categorically suggest that Nick has not had a touch of alcohol between his lips in the last 13 seconds. Yes, I'm going to say that. You know me. I'm not drinking anymore.
Yeah. I'm not drinking less either.
No, I'm not drinking anymore.
But I said this on a previous video. Remember, somebody was suggesting I was an old lush, because I was like getting my alcoholism out in public. I only have a drink. I only have a drink when I'm doing this.
I think you are an old lush.
Would you buy another? I mean, we were talking about this, weren't we? About my content. And by the way, thank you very much if you've been watching my videos. I've got about 440 followers, and I really value it. Please do subscribe. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe. I feel I need to say that because somebody else said that. I think Beatley Tone said that. You need to tell people they don't need to pay anything to subscribe. And even if you like this video, it really gets it seen by more people. I want to get seen by people. Even if you hate this video, make a comment, because that will help it get seen. It's just the algorithm on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
It helps you get seen. But what do you think about these? That's what I was going to say. Well, you watch some of the content. Do you watch some of the other content as well as me?
Yeah,
we met Beatley Tone. Beatley Tone. You remember meeting Mark when we saw him at it was April, wasn't it? We saw him at the IMAX 1-to-1 John Lennon thing. That's coming out again. We won't talk about Woman is the of the World being censored. Do you think that was a good thing to censor that?
No, I think it's a fait accompli. It's something that's part of history, and you should deal with it.
But I've heard since that it's UMG, Universal Music Group, that own the copyright now. So they are telling Sean and the estate of John Lennon what to do, so to speak.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's not them that's calling the shots on that. But I still think having that, because they've got this thing coming out now, and it's lacking that. It's everything else. It's like the complete, but it's lacking that one song, which is the best song.
It's a great song, isn't it?
That I've talked about it before. That sax on it. I don't want to keep going on about it, but it's a shame they could have put it in there and not made any fuss about it. Not even talked about it. Nobody would be talking about it, would they? Because only people our age that buy it. Young people who might be offended by this probably wouldn't buy it, would they?
No, probably not. But
and this thing of all this furore about the Beatles anthology, now it's coming out. The new anthology coming out. Mark doesn't follow these things as close as nerdy as I do, but they are bringing you might know this, Mark. I told you this. They're bringing the anthology albums out. The same ones from 1995-96. They're coming out again, remastered, because they're going to have the anthology on Disney Plus in November. They've got this fourth album. I'm only saying this because you know this, but Mark doesn't know this. Maybe fourth album of this. And it was all you have to buy the whole thing to get the fourth album. But now, thanks to Beatley Tone, and he won't take credit for it, but I know he absolutely, they do listen to him. They are releasing it as a fourth album. Will you be buying it?
No. I've not bought any record since Wandering Star.
But you've got a record player to play it on, haven't you?
I have, yeah.
Oh, I love vinyl. I won't buy any more CDs again. I bought CDs. I bought some of these box sets that have got CDs in them. Do you know what? It's not easy for me to play a CD these days. You said you bought a thing to plug into your computer.
Well, more DVD, I think. Yeah.
Well, CDs as well. You can play CDs on.
Yeah.
But I just bought a CD. I like having my record player, my vinyl. I really like having it. It's like, even the crackles, and I don't mind.
Well, that's the pleasure of it, isn't it? The crackles.
It's like releasing a spirit, isn't it, from the record?
It's organic, isn't it?
Organic. Organic.
Visceral, isn't it?
So, Mark, what's your favourite Beatles song?
Well, I always like "There's a Place," from.
I love that song, but why that one particularly?
I don't know.
Can you remember there's something about it?
It just got me when I was younger.
Really?
Um,
What's albums there's a place on?
is it Meet the Beatles? Is it?
Is it very early on?
Or is
That's the American album.
Oh,
Meet the Beatles.
please, me.
Please, it's on the first album. It's on the very first
me,
album.
Yeah.
Well, isn't it funny? My favourite Beatles. You know what my favourite Beatles song is?
P.S. I Love
P.S.
You.
I Love You, which is on the first album. Isn't it funny?
Yeah.
I love that. Very early on, it's stayed with me ever since. And over the years, it's been very difficult, isn't it, to say what's your favourite Beatles song? You can compile the top 10 and think, but P.S. I Love You has always been for me a strong candidate.
Your favourite is not necessarily always the most impressive. I mean, I thought Eleanor Rigby was perhaps the most impressive Beatles song.
Oh, yes, I know.
It is a favourite, but it's not.
I know what I want to talk to you about, mashups.
Oh.
Because Mark's very into sort of mashups. Now, what were you saying before? What would be a good mashup?
Well, I
don't necessarily agree with this, by the way.
This is going to rub people up the wrong way. But,
well, come on, we want a reaction here.
The latter half of the Beatles' career, the songs were a bit half-baked and unfinished, weren't they? And if they, it's like, why don't we do it in the road? It's got a great little riff to it, and it just like.
Why don't we do it in the road?
It's half-baked.
No one will be watching us. Why don't we do it?
It's part of the song.
Oh, what do you think that should be mashed with?
That should be mashed with "You Know My Name."
You know my name. Look up and
put those two together. You got a brilliant song.
You know my name.
I know people are going to be annoyed about this, but I'm just saying.
What was the other? We were talking about. I mentioned to you just randomly before. I was talking about the John Lennon song. Remember.
Oh,
remember when you were young.
Remember's a
great
the
hero
little tune.
Always. What do you think that was?
Well, the thing is, he's got stuck in a rut and he can't resolve it.
I think that's why I love that song. But John Lennon plus to go in a band, that can do that is just, I love that album. Nothing is wrong with that. But you think this is not me.
It should be the middle eight to Mother, because it needs a release.
Oh,
it needs a release.
No.
I remember it needs a release.
Do you mean it needs a sort of middle 80s? But it has got, isn't it?
It gets stuck in a rut. It needs to be released.
I'd say Mark is more because you like a lot of musical stuff. You've got more of what's the for want of a better word? You've got more of an ear for things that you like a lot of Great American Songbook stuff, don't you? Old stuff. So you've got an ear for how things can fit together, perhaps more than I.
Irving Berlin would have mashed up. You know my name, and why don't we hit the road? It mashed it up and made a great song out of it.
Did he like the Beatles, Irving Berlin?
No, but if he had two songs that were unresolved, he would have finished it.
Now, what were we talking about before? Just one more thing. We were talking about this thing about, Paul was friends with Len Deighton and didn't know Len Deighton who wrote the Ipcrest File, the spy novels? Yeah. I didn't know this. Mark told me this.
It was a great cook, wasn't he, apparently, Len Deighton? Which inspired Harry Palmer being a great cook.
But the Beatles connection is...
Well, he invited Paul to dinner a lot.
Yeah.
He used to cook for him. They were friends.
Yeah.
And he wasn't the guy who wrote the screenplay. He was the producer on Oh, What a Lovely War, the film version.
Oh, what a lovely war. And he wanted the Beatles to be in it.
Well, there's a Smith family, isn't there? There's four lads, the Smith family. And he wanted the Beatles to be...
You mean for the stage show?
No, for the movie. The film, yeah.
So when was the movie? The movie came out in 1970, didn't it?
No, it was before that.
67.
68.
Oh, so they could have been in it.
And initially, it was mooted that Gene Kelly would direct the movie. Imagine that Gene Kelly directing the Beatles.
But would it have worked? Because there's been so many of that, hasn't there? The Beatles could have been in, the Joe Orton thing, Up Against It.
Yeah.
The Beatles could have been in The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings.
Oh, yeah.
There's all these things, aren't there? They're interesting, aren't they? But they were never going to happen, really.
I think
the Joe Orton thing, maybe.
Yeah.
I think that could have worked.
Or Prick Up Your Ears, yeah.
No, the Up Against It. That's the thing about the McTurk and the...
but that was originally called Prick Up Your Ears, wasn't it?
Was it really?
It's called Prick Up Your Ears. I thought
Prick Up Your Ears came from the...
Oh, maybe I'm wrong here.
Yeah, Prick Up Your Ears was the John Lahr biography later on.
Yeah, but it came from another title, didn't it? It came from a Joe Orton title. I presume if they'd made Up Against It, it would have been a Beatles song title that would have named the film.
But they're always talking about this, aren't they? Another Beatles. Can you imagine another Beatles movie that would have happened?
Well, the contract said there should be 3, didn't they?
But that's why Yellow Submarine, wasn't that?
No,
Partly,
no, I think it was Let It Be.
Let It Be was partly fulfilling the. Alan, you'll know this because I'm a bit rubbish on the Beatles. I love the Beatles very much, but I'm not as maybe nerdy as I should be in knowing all the kind of facts. You know more than me about. You know a lot more than me.
Selective, probably.
Stuff. Anyway, I think we've gone on quite a long time now, haven't we? So bless you, Mark. Thank you very much for being here,
and you,
and thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Please continue to watch, won't you? And even if you hate what we've done, please just leave a comment saying that was absolute bollocks.
it was absolutely.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah,
You too.
right,
But thank you for watching. Thank you, Mark.
Thank
Bless
you.
you. Chin chin.
Chin,
And will I see you again? I sincerely hope so. Thank you very much.
Thank you.